Welcome to another episode of Retrospective Gaming. In this episode, I will be reviewing Gothic II Gold Edition. Before I move on with the review, two things. One, there will be spoilers in this review. Not a lot of spoilers, but still, there are some. But don't worry, I will let you know when I spoil something major. Two, Night of the Raven adds a new area, adds new quests, adds new creatures, and does some other stuff to make the game much harder. So Gothic II Gold Edition is much harder than just Gothic 2. Alright, now that I got that out the way, here is my review of Gothic 2 Gold Edition. You begin the game in Zardos' tower. He saved you. What happened before that? This is a major spoiler for Gothic 1. In Gothic 1, you are an unarmed prisoner. You get sent into a mining colony where there's a barrier around it. At the end of the game, you fight the Sleeper, and when you defeat the Sleeper, you destroy the barrier. Gothic 2 starts off a couple of weeks after the end of Gothic 1. So, you defeated the Sleeper. All is well, right? Wrong. Zardos tells you that there is a danger to the world, and you need the Eye of Innos. You need to find that to combat the danger. And that is how Gothic 2 starts. Now, one of the things that I noticed when I was playing this game is that when you play the side quests, usually in other role-playing games, especially some of the newer ones, not all of them, but some of them, when you play them, most of the side quests are just generic fetch quests. You're just running errands for people. In Gothic 2, when you do the side quests, yes, you do kill, you do get items and things like that, but most of the time there is a backstory to it. There is a reason why you're doing all of this. You just don't go up to someone and they tell you, I need X amount of this for no reason, just get it. Like it's an MMO. There is a reason to everything. There is another story involved. In a lot of games, it's just the main story that gets the most attention and the side quests are just an afterthought. In Gothic 2 Gold Edition, the side quests have their own stories. There are more to it than just killing or getting an item. There is a background story, you have to pay attention and you have to read into it. That's one of the things that I really enjoy about Gothic 2 Gold Edition. You really feel like you're on a grand adventure. You're on this epic adventure in this huge land and you go to these different areas. I'm not saying that every side quest in this game has a long story. Still, you can tell that the developers put a lot of time and effort into the quests outside the main storyline. And that's a good thing because you are going to spend a lot of time in Gothic 2 Gold Edition. You can easily put over 100 hours into this game. And I almost forgot to mention this, but in this game, you go back to the mining camp from Gothic 1. And it's pretty cool. Now, what did I think about the main quest? I enjoyed it. The voice acting is better than Gothic 1. There were no cringeworthy moments where I was just embarrassed to hear the voices. Although I have to say, Zardos is pretty badass. He's one of my favorite characters in the Gothic series so far. One thing that really complements the story is the fact that the game world changes. New enemies pop up. It's not just the same enemies all the time. It just doesn't stay the same way it was the first hour or two or the first 10 hours. The game world changes. Now, at some point in the game, you experience the new area in Night of the Raven. I enjoyed this expansion pack. There's temples, you can go to a swamp, the bandit area. It has a nice quest. It's not too long, but it's not really short. It actually feels like an expansion pack, not just a DLC, but an expansion pack. Just to let you know, at some point in the game, you have to complete the Night of the Raven quest in order to advance in the main storyline. That might bug some people, but I had no problem with it. There are different factions in the game, and they're not just some generic factions that all act the same. They are different from each other. Whether it's the Ring of Water, the Fire Mages, the Militia, the Paladins, they are different and add to the story. I played as a mage in this game, mainly a mage. It's hard, and you almost feel at some point in the game that you're never going to get enough mana because in the beginning, it's hard to use mana. It runs out very easily, but if you put the time and effort into it, magic is a very powerful thing. Making runes, making potions, learning the different circles of magic, it's just fun. Now, what are my thoughts on the main story? I enjoyed it. I felt that the pacing was a little slow in some chapters. There are 6 chapters in this game. Chapters 4, 5, and 6 are quicker than 1, 2, and 3 in my opinion, and at some points I just felt like it was going a little slow, but overall, I did enjoy the main storyline. I think it was better than the storyline in Gothic 1, but it complements it very well. Not that many games can come out with better sequels or continue the storyline in a good way, but Gothic 2 Gold Edition succeeded. It did very well. Let's move on to gameplay. Gothic 2 is hard, but it's also fair. In my opinion, one of the hardest things to do in a CRPG is balance difficulty and a sense of progression. I like my CRPGs to be hard, requiring skill and mastering the mechanics of the game. I think if a developer has to resort to making a game cheap and unfair, it can make the game frustrating in a bad way. Gothic 2 is also brutal. Anyone that plays this for the first time might find it impossible at first. I'm not a stranger to the Gothic series. I beat and enjoyed Gothic 1, so the gameplay was familiar to me, but I still found it very challenging, even questioning halfway through if I had the right build for my character. You don't rush into this game, you learn it, you pay attention to every detail so that you can eventually master it. Gothic 2 won't let you rush into it. In the beginning, my character was very weak. I was lucky to kill one creature without help. I would not even imagine fighting a group of wolves, let alone wandering into orc territory. In Gothic 2 Gold Edition, you have to be smart and patient. This game gave me a sense of survival. In the beginning, I could not run into a group of enemies and kill them like I was the Terminator. I had to be patient. I had to wait and lure my enemies out one at a time and kill them and repeat. That is survival. I ran away from a lot of fights, especially in the beginning, because I made a mistake and I was too impatient. I tried killing everything at once and I paid the price many times because I had to reload a lot of saves. Now, some games claim to be open-ended. They claim to be open world, but they restrict you from a lot of areas until they feel that you can handle the enemies in that area. They hold your hand, and too many games do that nowadays. But Gothic 2 is the definition of open-ended. This game does not hold your hand. Right from the beginning, you are free to go wherever you want, even if that means exploring an area where the enemies will kill you in one hit. If you want to do that, go for it. Now, I've already told you that this game is open-ended and difficult, but what do you do in this game? Let me tell you. You kill enemies and you level up. When you level up, you get a certain amount of learning points. Plan your character out. Think about the type of character you want to be. You don't get a lot of learning points, and not only do you have to spend your LP on mana, strength, or dexterity, you have to spend your LP on learning different skills like skinning animals, learning a different language, picking locks, etc. I'm not going to go on and on about all the stuff you can do in Gothic 2 Gold Edition. If I did, I would be here for a very long time. If you're familiar with role-playing games, especially CRPGs, you should have no problems figuring out the basics of this game. Now, one of the best things about this game is progression. You spend all this time with your character, leveling up, doing main quests, doing side quests, killing enemies, etc. And you want to feel like you get something out of it, that you've actually progressed through the game. Your character has slowly but surely gotten stronger and better. You can go to different areas where you used to be very weak and you would die easily, and you go back to the area later and it's much easier. This is where Gothic 2 Gold Edition really shines, progression, and I'm going to give you some examples of that. At one point in the game, I got into a sword fight with Adanos. I can't remember what level I was, but I wasn't far in the game, and let me tell you, it was brutal. It was almost impossible the first couple of tries. It took me 10 or 15 times to beat Adanos. Now, when I was fighting him, I was on the edge of my seat. I had to block and attack, block and attack. He was much more powerful than me, so I had to hit him many times, but only a couple of hits from him would kill me. So it was very intense, but I had to learn the game. I had to learn the mechanics. I had to be almost perfect with my timing because he could kill me in a couple of hits. I backed out, and I kept backing out because we were in a tight space and I wanted to go into a more open area, and I finally killed him. I definitely earned it. Now, let's fast forward. I'm much further into the game. I'm mainly using magic. I'm running around summoning demons and making it rain fire, and I'm killing dragons easily. All I have to do is use fire rains a couple of times or summon a demon, and I destroy a dragon like it's nothing. It's not even a challenge. And I was going back to areas and slaughtering enemies that once killed me easily. That's progression. I had to earn it. It's not a cheap type of progression where the game holds your hand and the game becomes really easy a couple of hours in. No, this is real progression, and it's one of the best things about Gothic II Gold Edition. Alright, as you can tell, I enjoyed the gameplay, but I do have some issues with it. Number one, the AI. Let me give you some examples. When I was summoning skeletons in certain areas, instead of following me, the skeletons would go and try to fight the enemy, and they would end up falling off a cliff. They would not follow behind me on the bridge. They would just run off the cliff like a bunch of lemmings. Next example, when I was fighting one of the dragons, after I talked to it, after it told me it was going to kill me, it would just sit there and let me attack it. It wouldn't move. I could attack it and it would just do nothing. It would just sit there. Even if the dragon did attack me, it would still be an easy fight. But still, it didn't even put up a fight. Some of the AI in this game are really stupid. My next big issue with the gameplay, bugs. I saw one NPC get stuck to the bench he was sitting on, and he was spinning around because he was trying to move, but he was stuck to the bench. I saw this happen a couple of times, but that was nothing compared to this one bug that really pissed me off. This only happened a couple of times. I took out my crossbow, and as soon as that happened, my character would start glitching. I couldn't move, I couldn't go to my inventory, I couldn't go to my quest log, and I had to go to the menu and load one of my saves. That bug was fucking annoying. It really was. Now, I've read on some forums that other people were dealing with different bugs, so just be aware that if you play this game, there are bugs that shouldn't be there, there are glitches, and some of the AI are really stupid. Alright, it's time to talk about sound and atmosphere. The sound in this game does the job. As I said earlier, I had no problems with the voice acting, it was passable. I had no problems with the sound, the weapons and all that stuff. It's fine, I had no issues with it. There is one thing that I have to mention when it comes to sound. I found one of my favorite VGMs of all time in this game. For those that don't know what VGM means, it means video game music. The song that you hear when you're in the monastery chapel, that song is fantastic. Let's move on to atmosphere. The atmosphere in this game is fantastic. Whether you're in the main city or the farm, the monastery, the mining area from Gothic 1, or the area in the expansion, it all has its own unique look, and some of the areas are huge. So take your time and explore the game because there is a lot to do. This game has a nice variety of enemies. The weather changes. You can go to temples, you can go to a swamp, a monastery, different cities, a mining colony, and more. There is just a lot to do in this game. This game has an interesting setting, and you should take your time and explore every part of it. Alright, what are my final thoughts on this game? This game is amazing. Gothic 2 Gold Edition is one of the best CRPGs out there. This game is almost 20 years old and it is still fun to play, and a lot of newer games can learn a lot from it, especially role-playing games. That does not mean it's perfect. There are some minor pacing issues in the main storyline, but the major issues with this game are the bugs and the AI. There are just some bugs that should not have been in the game, and some of the AI is incredibly stupid and you will notice them. So there are some issues in this game, and I just wanted to let you know that. But you should still try it out, especially if you're a fan of role-playing games or CRPGs. Thank you for watching this episode. Leave a comment, let me know what you think of this game, or you can message me on Twitter. Have a great day.